Hey, and welcome back to The Art of a Life Well Lived. I am Christine Regan Lake, and it's good to be back here again. Today I am doing a follow-up to my last video, and this is about healing after narcissistic abuse. And today I'm going to talk about the 9 things that you must go through or embrace as you walk the healing path of healing after narcissistic abuse. So let's get started. If you are enjoying my videos, I would love it if you could like, share, and subscribe to my channel. That helps me get my message out to those who want and need to hear it. And if this message doesn't resonate with you, then it's not for you, and you don't have to worry about it. Don't try to make it fit if it doesn't resonate with your soul. And so let's get started. Okay, so when you are taking that path of healing after narcissistic abuse, maybe you've just broken up, maybe you've just gone through a divorce, maybe you've just moved out of your parents' house, maybe you just quit a job from a narcissistic boss, whatever it is. If you are now in the point where you are really trying to dive in and focus on healing your emotional and physical and spiritual body after narcissistic abuse, then these are some of the things that you're going to need to consider and that you're going to need to embrace, do, and such. So the first thing that you're going to need to focus on is you need to forgive yourself. When someone has been a long-term victim of narcissistic abuse, there's a lot of guilt and shame that goes along with that you allowed yourself to enable someone to violate your boundaries over and over and over again, or you allowed someone to disrespect you and treat you in a manner that is not of your worth and value. So the very, very first thing is that you have to be very, very gentle and kind with yourself and have a lot of self-compassion, and you need to forgive yourself for doing what you needed to do in that moment. You know, at every given moment, we're doing the best we can with what we're at, where we're at that moment. And maybe it just took you until this moment to be able to get up the courage to leave that marriage or quit that job or whatever your circumstances are. Don't beat yourself up. It doesn't do you any good. All it does is batter down your self-esteem and your self-worth, which, if you've been in a narcissistic relationship, is more than likely in pretty bad shape to begin with. So it doesn't serve you to beat yourself up. Have forgiveness for yourself and, just move forward. So the second part, once you have really started, and to forgive yourself, it's not like a one and done, flip the light switch. To be clear, forgiveness is something you will do over and over and over again. It's like peeling the onion, The whole healing journey, I have always said, is like peeling the onion, because we heal and forgive and we can grow and evolve to the level of our consciousness. And the more work we do on ourselves, the more that enables us to go deeper, heal deeper wounds, forgive deeper issues, forgive, ourselves, forgive others at deeper levels and stuff like that. So don't think that like any of these things that I'm talking about are just like a one and done. You'll do it, you'll cross a finish line, and then you're done. A lot of these that we're going to talk about are things that you're going to visit and revisit, and it's an ebb and flow. Healing is a process, it's a journey, and it's not just something that you can do in like the flick of a light. It's just, this is not how it works. Our body holds on to things, and our subconscious is only able to let go of a certain amount of things at a certain amount of time. It's physically traumatic for all this stuff to come out of the body, so you have to be gentle with yourself and have patience. But the next part you need to do is, so the first thing you need to do is you need to forgive yourself. But the second thing that you need to do is you need to own your part. So a lot of empaths, it's really interesting, online you see a lot of stuff about messaging, about, bashing the narcissist. And, it's always like the hopeless, innocent empath. Well, even you empaths have to take responsibility for the fact that if you've been an overgiver, overgiving is not love. Overgiving is codependency. And if you carried a relationship that is dysfunctional on your part as well. It's out of alignment, and it's a form of manipulation that if, I know if I overgive, then that person's going to feel compelled to have to love me or whatever. And it's a form of manipulation. It's not coming from a place of overflow, it's coming from a place of lack. So you need to look back upon the situation, the relationship, the job, whatever, and you need to identify all the areas in which you were coming from a place of dysfunction, wounding, and lack. It's not just the other person. Yes, the narcissist has their things that they need to be responsible for, but you need to own your portion of the situation, why you stayed so long in that job, why you allowed your boundaries to be violated and things like that. And you're not going to you don't beat yourself up, but you have to own your part and you have to take responsibility for your piece in it. Because if you don't, then you're never going to learn from the situation and you're never going to grow, and you're going to end up in the same situation. You'll end up in a new relationship with the same pattern with a different face. You'll end up in the same job with a different boss, but it's the same dynamic. You have to identify, your part that you played in it and say, I am no longer going to participate in my own destruction. From here on forward, I am going to see how I have been, and I am going to choose anew, and I am going to choose what is healthy for me. And even if it's scary, even if it makes me uncomfortable, even if it forces me out of my comfort zone, but you have to do that, because you will not heal if you don't take accountability for your part in what you played. So the next thing that's really important for you to do is you have to identify your patterns. You cannot change your life if you cannot identify the negative patterns. A habit is one thing. A pattern of behavior, a pattern of doing things systematically over and over and over again, where you change nothing and you just you're on autopilot, just doing the same exact patterns. It's the same pattern in your friendships, your intimate relationships, your jobs, where you allow people to violate your boundaries, you allow yourself to overgive, overwork, and not be compensated. It's the same thing. These are patterns. And if you want to change your life, you have to change the patterns. You have to identify them. You have to identify the dysfunction of it. You have to look back and acknowledge all the areas that you enabled that pattern to exist. And then you need to make a conscious decision to say, I am breaking this pattern. I will choose differently no matter what. Because you look at someone's pattern and that's your future. If you don't change your patterns, then your past equals your future. The only way you can get a different future is if you change the patterns that you have been living, so that you can create a new timeline, a higher timeline, a timeline that is healthy for you, that is pro-life, that supports your existence from a place of joy, authenticity, playfulness, love, happiness, all those things. So identifying your pattern. So again, let's recycle. It's forgive yourself, own your part in the dysfunction, and then identify your patterns. That's 1, 2, and 3. Number 4 is it's really important to embrace energy work. I talk about energy work a lot on this channel because, as you know, I've been an energy healer for 15 years now. It is embracing energy work 15 years ago. No, I probably embraced it 20 years ago. I became a healer 15 years ago. Was the most transformational experience of my life, because you can sit and talk therapy for 10 years, but if you don't get the trauma out of your body that is anchoring that trauma into your nervous system, you're just fighting upstream constantly. That trauma gets locked into the nervous system, and it makes it harder and harder for you to break out and choose differently. You have to change the neural pathways in your brain that habituate you going into those same thought patterns, and those thought patterns are created from the trauma of your past. So you have to remove the energetic anchors in your body that are holding this trauma into your body, and they're locking those belief systems into your nervous system, into the cells of your body. Energy work is profound. I don't care what kind you do. You can do, Reiki work. You can do Seimei. You can do sound healing work. You can do EMDR. Whatever it is, you need to do something to release the trauma from the body so that you can move forward healthfully and release those anchors that are keeping you stuck. Because essentially, when you have that trauma locked in your nervous system, It's like you have an anchor in place. You're a boat with an anchor and you're just sitting in the water and you're not going upstream or downstream. You're just sitting there kind of treading water. You're just locked in place with that anchor. If you want to move forward in life healthfully, you have to release the anchors, those trauma anchors that are in your body, holding you in place and keeping you in a place of suffering. So the fifth thing that you want to do if you have been a victim of narcissistic abuse is that you really need to calm your sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight response, the fight, flight, fawn, and freeze, right? It's the part of your body that puts you on hypervigilant alert, that keeps you constantly scanning for threats to the environment and, constantly evaluating all the people in your environment and making sure that you're walking on eggshells so you don't trigger anybody, so you don't have any kind of conflict and nothing hits the fan and all that other stuff. That is a detrimental state to put your body in. It blows out your adrenals, it weakens your immune system, and it makes you sick. So it is vitally important for you to embrace protocols that will help you to soothe your sympathetic nervous system. You can do meditation, you can do prayer, you can do, exercise, you can do near-infrared saunas. Near-infrared saunas were transformational for me. They were very soothing to my sympathetic nervous system. So whatever you do, you want to make sure that whatever resonates with you, what organically feels like the modality that you want to embrace, you must turn off your fight or flight and you must calm your nervous system. Your body is exhausted and it needs time to recover. So the next thing is that when you are really trying to walk that path and recover from narcissistic abuse, which really can be, people who've been in long-term narcissistic abuse, they have PTSD, they have CPTSD, complex PTSD. And so it's really important for you to create a support system for yourself to keep your emotional, physical, and mental states and spiritual states primed so that you can maintain an optimistic forward motion, so that you can keep moving forward. And having a routine of solid rituals, of self-care rituals, is how you will do that. Whether you want to wake up every morning and do a mala bead practice, or say the rosary, or you want to go for a walk, or you want to meditate, or you want to do your yoga, or you want to paint, or you want to read the Bible, or you want to read the Torah, or you want to read whatever. Figure out a series of self-care routines that are going to help support you in grounding yourself every day, putting yourself in a positive forward mental state so that you can tackle the day. Life is going to throw enough negative things at you on a daily basis. It is absolutely critical that you create the self-care routines. I kind of look at it as like the, when they're the scaffolding that goes around a building when they're renovating. When they're renovating, they put that scaffolding there because they know they're constantly tweaking and they have to go here, here, and here. So that those self-care routines are kind of like scaffolding that go around you and help support the transformation of your emotional, physical, and spiritual body as you are moving through this process of healing from narcissistic abuse. And narcissistic abuse, this is something very, very severe. Obviously there's degrees to what someone has experienced, but it is very detrimental to and I'm going to do a whole video on this. Long-term narcissistic abuse actually causes brain damage. It actually shrinks your hippocampus so that you have memory issues, you become learning challenged, you have issues with learning things because your short-term memory is shot, and then you need the short-term memory to be able to integrate it into your memory for long-term, and so it makes learning very, very difficult. So healing and recovery after narcissistic abuse is a very, very big deal. This is not something to be taken lightly. It's recovering your physical body from years of living in a state of fight or flight with walking on eggshells. Your physical body's depleted, your emotional body's depleted, your mental body has been depleted and worn down from constantly being on the defense from all of these offensive assaults of insults and put downs and things like that. So it is a very, very big deal. So embracing those self-care routines is huge. Now the next one, some people say it's a little controversial that, you don't ever have to forgive them and things like that. I'll just tell you from my own personal journey, holding on to anger towards anybody makes you physically sick. It has been proven that holding on to anger creates chemical poisons in the body and it will make you sick. So for those people who say you don't have to forgive them, it's really stupid advice, because really what they're saying to you to do is to hold on to that anger and to, make yourself sick. That's not an intelligent strategy long term. Forgiving doesn't mean you're going to bring them back into your life. Forgiving doesn't mean that you're condoning what they did. Forgiving just means that you are releasing any connection or attachment to the past that you wished it would have been anything other than what it is. You acknowledge it is. It's almost taking that stoicism stance of, I can't change what is. It is what it is. It's out of my control. What happened happened, and now I just need to forgive them and move on. The reality is, what helps me when I struggle with forgiving someone is that, as a mother, I've given birth to two innocent children, my two boys. And when you look at an innocent child, you know how perfect that child is, how absolutely innocent, and they are complete 100% unconditional love, right? Every single one of us is born as an unconditional, loving, perfect, pure, innocent being. And it is the path of our life that sends us down paths that distort who we become, that cause us to say mean things, do things that are hurtful and things like that. It's from dysfunction that those things comes from. And so if you can acknowledge the divinity of the other soul who hurt you and forgive them or release it, to set yourself free, because when you don't forgive someone, you are in prison. You are imprisoning yourself. You are imprisoning your own emotional body from being able to move forward. And when you hold on to that anger towards one person and you keep your heart hardened to that person, it will absolutely affect the love that you have to give to the new person you want to fall in love with, or your family or your children and things like that. When you harden your heart, you harden it for everyone. It just is. When the heart hardens, it hardens. Okay, so the next one is create healthy boundaries. This one's a big one, because for a lot of empaths and overgivers, they don't have boundaries. They don't even know what a boundary was. They never grew up with them. Their boundaries were violated from the time they were a child, so they don't know any different, right? But you have to learn to start figuring out what a healthy boundary is for you. And one of the first things you need to do is learn how to say no. I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. I'm too tired. I don't have the money. I don't feel like going. This doesn't work for me. Those aren't my whatever it is, whatever the violation is of your boundary, where you're saying yes and it's really no. Anytime you say yes, when the reality is it's truly a no, you don't want to do it, you are violating your own boundaries. You are betraying your own soul. And the body physically does not respond well to contradictions. The body does not like it when we live a lie. And when you say yes and it's a no, you are living a lie, and that causes discord in the physical body and in the emotional body and the mental body. And that long term is not good for your emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. So learning how to create healthy boundaries is super important. And it's one of the first steps to self-love. Boundaries, healthy boundaries, is a product of self-love, where you say, I'm putting up, this is my boundary. And if this boundary doesn't work for you, too bad. This is what I need. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to, do anything. These are my values. This is what's important to me. I am not going to be spoken to like that. I'm not going to be disrespected. I'm not going to be put down, whatever it is. Putting up healthy boundaries is vitally important for you to heal after trauma, after narcissistic abuse. And the last one, and a vitally important one, is number 9. You need to create a new and healthier vision for your life. When you are emotionally mired and you're, from the past, and you are physically, emotionally, and spiritually depleted, it can be very difficult to find the motivation to do the healing work, to face the ugliness of what you've been through, to own your own behavior and have to acknowledge that you played a part in the dysfunction. That's not pretty. It's not easy. And unless you create this beautiful vision that is like a huge sun in front of you, right? It's like the magnet that pulls you forward. That new, beautiful, healthy vision of your life is the magnet that will pull you through the mire and the muck of what you have to go through to heal, because it's not pretty. There's a lot of tears, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration, there's despair, it's everything. It's up, it's down, it's beautiful. Like, as ugly as it is to have to go through it, it is a sacred experience to face your shit and to heal your wounds and to choose to forgive people who have hurt you. That entire process is a sacred journey, and it's a worthwhile journey. But you're not going to take that journey. You're not going to do all of that work because it's hard work. It is not pretty. And you're not going to do that work unless you see the payoff. And the payoff is that new healthy relationship, that new healthy job, that great paying new position, that new business that you just opened, that, better family dynamic you have with your siblings or your children. That is the payoff. You need to have that carrot to do the work, to go through all of that labor to heal and recover, but it's worth it. And so that is why it's so important, because it will give you the fuel, because there will be days you don't want to do the work, but you must do the work. And that vision will give you the motivation to keep going when you want to quit. So those are the 9 things that you're going to go through on the healing journey after narcissistic abuse. So I'll recap them. Forgive yourself. Know that you did the very best you could at that time, and now that you know differently, you're going to do better. 2, you're going to own your part in the behavior. You're going to acknowledge that it wasn't just all the other person's fault, that you played a part in this, and it's important for you to own your behavior and choose to say, I will no longer participate in my own destruction. The 3rd is to identify your patterns. Look at the patterns of your life. Normally, these things don't just happen in one area of your life. It's usually happening in multiple areas, in your friendships, interpersonal relationships, family relationships, work environments, whatever. Dysfunction is dysfunction. You have to identify those patterns and choose to release them, and choose to no longer engage in destructive habits that will keep you from living your best life. 4th is you want to embrace energy work to release those negative traumatic experiences from your body, so that you are taking the anchor out of the water so you can move forward down the river, the ocean, whatever you want to call it, whatever analogy you're looking for. But you want to remove the anchors, because the anchors keep you in place, and you cannot move forward and progress in your life if you are stuck, anchored, mired in the past. And trauma from your past is an anchor. Okay. The next thing you need to do is you want to soothe your sympathetic nervous system. It's your fight or flight response. It's exhausting to your body, burns out your adrenals, and weakens your immune system. So figure out a strategy that you're going to embrace that's going to help you to deeply calm and relax your physical body and turn off your sympathetic fight or flight response. You want to establish solid self-care routines. Figure out what that is for you, whether it's yoga, meditation, prayer, reading the Bible, reading the Torah, reading, whatever it is for you. The next one is you want to forgive them. You want to identify the people in your life that you are holding on anger to and holding in your heart that is keeping your heart hard. You are not going to live a joyous life of freedom and abundance and joy if you have a heart hardened with anger towards people, towards anyone, right? And it will make you physically sick. It's not an intelligent strategy. The 8th one is you're going to create your healthy boundaries. You're going to start saying no when it's no, and you're going to stop betraying yourself, and you're just going to stop living a lie and doing things that are not in alignment with who you are and what you want for your life. And the last thing is you're going to create that new, healthier vision for your life, because that vision, that new, healthy vision, is going to be the magnet that pulls you through the muck and mire of doing the hard work of healing after narcissistic abuse. So those are the 9 things that I wanted to share with you. I truly hope you found value in that. If you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to put it in the comments or shoot me an email. All my information is in the description box. If you are interested in having an energy session, I do sessions. I am located in the New Jersey area, but I work with people all over the country. I can work via Zoom or phone calls, and helping you to release that trauma from the body so that you can heal and move forward. So I hope you found value. Have a beautiful day, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.